Thank you all for coming to our presentation about innovation and cultivation and expansion in the retail cannabis market. I'm Paul Cambio. I work with Flower Expo. I do a lot of their legal work. I'm a lawyer. I'm licensed in California. Our company is in Nevada. We do trade shows in Michigan and Massachusetts. And I'd like to introduce our panel. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Paul. First of all, thank you all for being here. My name is Stephen Kekelik. I am CEO and owner of IndiGrow out of Muskegon. We are a traditional micro business. What that means for all of you in the audience, we're okay, is that we grow, process, and sell all in one location and only our products.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Sommers. I'm the purchasing manager for TerrAscend, Michigan. We do the buying for 20 retail locations, gauge a bunch of the cookies. My portion here is as the large retailer. My history, I have an accounting degree, which is pretty weird, and I've been in corporate cannabis for about 3 years now. Excited to talk to y'all.
Hello, everybody. I'm Willy Vlasic, co-founder of Vlasic Labs and Vlasic Flower. We have a CBD brand based here in Michigan. We sell nationwide, as well as a commercial cultivation facility in Las Vegas. I sold my cultivation facility here a couple years ago, and I also have a golf tournament called the Vlasic Classic with Last Prisoner Project that is happening next week in Plymouth, Michigan. Can't wait to talk about cultivation and retail.
What's up, guys? My name is Willy McKenzie. I'm CEO of Left Coast Holdings. We have facilities up in Manistee, outdoor grow, indoor grow, manufacturing and extraction, and then a little bit of retail. I've been in cannabis since 2006. I come from Northern California, and I've been in Michigan since 2019. I also run a group called the Elite Cannabis Operators Mastermind. It's a community for cannabis operators, and I'm excited to be here with these established, esteemed gentlemen to speak about the cannabis industry in Michigan today.
Okay, why don't you take our first question?
Alrighty then.
With Michigan seems to have a expanding market right now. What opportunities do you see for cultivation and retail?
There's big headlines about Michigan retail, right? Oh, Michigan's outpacing California. It's the second biggest market in the United States. Unfortunately, the borders kind of are outliers, right? And that throws the averages off for the state. So if you exist on the Ohio, Indiana, Chicago, Wisconsin, Minnesota border, you're crushing, right? But most of the retailers in the state are getting crushed. We have the lowest adult use pricing in the United States. It's a super challenging market for retailers. I had 4 stores. I had to punt 3 of them because I couldn't figure out how to make them profitable in smaller markets. So, if you're in the southern or the northeast part of the state, you're probably doing all right. But if you're in the middle of the state, people are really suffering. So on the retail side, Michigan's a tough market for retail operators. On the cultivation side, we've really doubled down on outdoor cultivation, which is that's kind of our strong suit, right? And that's what we come from. And I think that unless you're a really large, established, experienced, well-funded operation with a good management team, that the time to specialize in Michigan cannabis is now. Get lean, figure out how to do things really inexpensively, and master one particular thing and do it really well.
To echo that, definitely figure out what you're good at and focus on it. There's a lot of people that try to do a little bit of everything in this industry, and from a retail standpoint, obviously the border towns, you can crush in, but there are small markets as well. You just need to know your market and be competitive within your market. On the cultivation side, obviously having good flower at a good price is extremely important, but there's plenty of very good flower in Michigan that's affordable, and really dialing in your fulfillment, your invoicing, and your compliance, and having the relationships with the stores and doing the work and giving them the support to be able to flourish as a brand is incredibly important in a market that's so competitive. I sold my cultivation here a couple years ago, but we still sell CBD to a couple hundred dispensaries in Michigan, and we try to give them the same support that they'd get from the best THC brand on the market. And if you can't give, vendor days, education, marketing support, and really get in the stores and help move the product, it's not going to move on its own. There's so many players and so many brands. So, just make sure you're hitting the streets and your back end's dialed in to perform.
Yeah, I think there are opportunities to be had, and it's going to be the companies who can really focus on efficiency, who can bring that amazing customer experience with as controlled costs as possible. Whether you're a retailer or you're a producer or a cultivator, how good can you do at keeping your costs low? Because the market is going to continue to be challenging, and so the companies who can focus on the efficiencies the best probably still have some opportunity.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of echo what's been said, as far as opportunities go. I know we see a lot of growth in our border states, but I think a lot of what kind of gets missed in the industry right now is we're not focusing on bringing on non-cannabis consumers that are out there now. I mean, we talk a lot about how hard it is in the middle of the state. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, as a micro business, we're as small as they come, but really we focus on bringing people to cannabis that don't come from a background of being a cannabis consumer. Those people aren't searching out the lowest, cheapest price. They're searching out education. They want to be handheld through it and introduced to it. When you do that, you activate a market segment that is currently not being tapped. That's why you see all the growth at the border stores.
So people anticipate there might be some consolidation in the market because of that, and you kind of transitioned into that. Is there any recommendations you have on building retail and vendor relationships?
I mean, that's a tough question for a micro business, right? We supply all of our own products, but I can talk to you from the guise of what the consumers want. We sell a bunch of ancillary products as well, CBD and things like this. And what you'll see very cyclical purchasing patterns. A new product comes out, or a new segment of the market decides, oh, I really want those CBN sleep gummies. Having vendors that can get you the products you want quickly, that is key. You can't be waiting, because especially in towns like ours where there's 21 dispensaries, if you don't have the product that customer wants at your store, they're going to go buy everything else at a different store.
For us, this question really comes down to a lot of the extra stuff. When we're evaluating brands to potentially bring on, it's really not enough to have a great product anymore. Maybe a few years ago, a great product could get you there. But as a publicly traded company, we need vendor partners who are solid in all of the back office stuff. Fulfillment, we'd like 90% of our orders to be correct. Everybody's going to have some problems, but fulfillment. Compliance, we are extremely compliant. And so we need partners who are invested in their compliance department and the accounting side. To be publicly traded and maintain our SOX compliance, we have purchase orders that have to be processed before we can receive your product. So the companies that do best with us are the companies who can provide a fast, accurate invoice, fulfill the order with some case flexibility so that we can send smaller cases to our middle of the state stores who are challenged, and then provide us with that purchase order on time. Those are the kind of the next level things that, on top of the great product and the vendor days and the marketing, the companies who can provide that level of back office support, for a large retailer, that's a huge win for us.
I'd say from the vendor side, really just make the retailer's life as easy as possible. Like Josh was saying, you need to have all of that back office dialed in. And when there's hiccups with accounting or compliance or fulfillment, that's when it starts to sour the relationship. And when there's no hiccups and everything's perfect, ideally all the time, you're able to let the relationship flourish and really, build the relationship and grow it. And for anybody that's entering the market now, or, maybe just had your first harvest, I would just say there's nothing more important than being buttoned up on the back office, because there's folks that have had 4 or 5 years to get ahead on the relationships, and some that were building those relationships even back in the caregiver days before Metric came to Michigan. So the relationship, good weed and a good price isn't enough by itself. You need to have your shit together from a back office and operations standpoint, be able to get it out the door compliantly and invoice it how the retailers want it.
From a relationship standpoint, I mean, these guys pretty much said it all. So I guess I'll speak to the consolidation portion. I mean, we've seen some in the state, but I think where we're heading is to a place where, the 4 and 5 year convertible debt that most people got when they started their companies in 2019, 2020 is going to be coming due this year and next year. And a lot of people are behind on their federal taxes. And so operators who have just been struggling, stringing it along, trying to do whatever they can to stay open are going to get to a place where they can't do it anymore. People are waiting for 280E to go away. I don't think it's going to go away that fast. We all have our fingers crossed, but I do think that we're heading into a period of great consolidation where we're going to see a lot of the smaller operators folded into bigger companies. And when we're doing that, we just have to be really careful about who we partner with, because these are going to be stock deals, not cash deals, and we all know how badly stock deals can go, don't we, TerrAscend?
You can hang on to the mic. So
Okay.
you all have sort of unique experience on scaling. What unique challenges does scaling up have, and what about compliance? How do you make sure you stay compliant when you scale up?
In my business, and I think in most people's businesses, scaling is about the team that you have, right? We start a company, we take it to where we're capable of getting it, and then in order to take it to the next level, we have to bring in outside professionals to help us. So the people who got you to $1 million a year aren't going to be the people who get you to $5 million. They're not going to be the people who get you to $10 million. So like when we scaled our farm, we're a bunch of legacy guys, right? We were growing nice flower, but the things that work when you have 500 or 1,000 plants outdoor don't work when you have 50,000 or 75,000 plants. And so you have to bring in people with commercial agriculture experience, right? People from big hemp, people from cut flower. And so that's what we did, right? And that's why our outdoor farm has been successful at scaling. And so I think when you talk about scaling, you can't just execute, right? You have to bring the team in that knows how to get you where you want to go.
Couldn't agree more. A lot of people try to put as much as they can on each individual in the company, and the team has to come before the scale. When we scaled our CBD business from just Michigan to 46 states, we had to bring on people and put processes into place in anticipation of the scale that was coming. And even opening our cultivation facility in Nevada, which is a completely separate business, we couldn't lose sight of what's working for us in Michigan or what's working for us in Missouri, and making sure that you take care of your primary business while you scale and while you expand. And what I've seen, a lot of these brands, especially once they do a good licensing deal or two in a couple states, they want to go license into 5 or 10 states. And just because it worked in Michigan doesn't mean it's going to work in Maryland. Just because it worked in Missouri doesn't mean it's going to work in Nevada. And treating every market as its own and not biting off more than you can chew too quickly, because there's a lot of these companies that just want to grow, and they grow too fast. And as their revenue grows, their problems grow as well. And so just making sure that you're keeping an eye on the risk and the downside potential of scaling quickly.
When we look at scaling in TerrAscend, Michigan, we're looking for efficiency. We are an MSO that's operating in 5 states, so anything we can do to execute some cost savings. If we order our packaging for 5 states, we order 500,000 joint tubes instead of 250,000. We can save a penny per unit. And as you start to get through all of the packaging needs and all of the production needs that we have, every little cent helps. So when we're talking about scaling our internal products, it's all about efficiency for us. Where can we save money without sacrificing the quality of the product? Because, cost savings is the name of the game.
When we talk about scaling, as a micro business, we're as scaled up as they can get, right? We have one location. And I think a lot of people, when they look at scaling, they look at let's go as big as possible. But really kind of where we find our strength is knowing where to scale down, really maximizing team efficiency, really seeing what products are selling, really following the consumer. We live in an industry where the consumer is trying to find what is good cannabis, what am I looking for, and being able to scale up and scale down different product venues that you create, that's really the key to success.
That's good. So seems like more money, more problems. Is that what you're saying? Right.
It's a good song for a reason.
You know?
So there's been talk about sustainable packaging and sustainability in general, and what makes a panel nice is having differing opinions on that, and I think we might have that on this question.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be the outlier here, as probably the vendor with the least purchasing power. Really, sustainability starts with the companies. I know we put a lot of things on consumers. Consumers want the cheapest product. Consumers aren't, really inspired by sustainable packaging, but I think a lot of that comes to, are we selling that to our consumers? We work a lot with the vendors that we have who are local, and I can tell you sustainable packaging costs me no more than non-sustainable packaging does. Does it take further conversations and relationships? Yes, but it doesn't cost my company more on the bottom line, and really, we put the onus on us. I got 2 kids in this world that I don't want to live in with a bunch of plastic doob tubes everywhere. So taking that initiative, we have to be the change the industry wants. The consumer's not going to do it. We need to do it. So that's kind of how I view sustainable. All of our packaging is sustainable, biodegradable, or recycled. And, we even do buyback programs for our packaging, clean them and reuse them just to further lower that footprint.
From our perspective, we have tried a few products that, one of the differentiating factors was sustainable packaging, and we really have yet to see that impact at the bud tender shelf. Now, if we can get the same price, from a vendor, and the product is sustainable and the product is great, perhaps that moves the needle on, what a customer might buy, especially in some of the markets. Some of our markets are, almost 100% cost driven. And Detroit Metro is one example. It's very, very competitive there. But we're always excited for, the opportunity to find vendor partners who can bring sustainability, because I think as our market evolves and our customers evolve, that will become a real nice differentiator. I don't know if we're there yet, but I think the time is coming.
We don't use a ton of sustainable packaging because of a cost standpoint. We tried a couple things that cost a little more, ocean recycled plastic and some cool sustainable initiatives, and we didn't find that they really ended up making a big difference for us, just with how customers are pinching pennies here in Michigan. But we do engage in a lot of sustainable practices, and programs to give back, whether that be, to the community or, to the world around us. And although sustainable packaging may not all make sense from a cost standpoint at the moment, there are ways that you can, make efforts to help sustain, the practices that your employees are engaging in, and just making sure you're not investing into things that are one-offs or, aren't going to be able to be reused or, reallocated down the road.
There are things that you can do at your facility that are sustainable that don't cost a lot of money, which is great. But when you talk about consumer-facing things that increase your costs, A, the economy is bad. B, Michigan is a very price-sensitive market. And so everybody who I've seen who has tried to do the sustainability move has failed. I have friends who invested tens of millions of dollars into, building ultra-sustainable facilities, and they've gone under because they can't compete on price. And so, unfortunately, I hate to be the guy who says that people don't care about sustainability, but at the end of the day, Pareto's rule, 80-20, I think there's 20% of the people in the market who are probably willing to pay more for a sustainable product, but the majority of the market just cares about being able to pay all their bills and buy themselves some cannabis for the week. So it's the unfortunate reality as I see it.
So what changes would you like to see in the cannabis industry?
This is a regulated industry, and I think it's under-enforced. Obviously, we have some massive problems here in the state of Michigan with conversion oil, right? Josh Swider's back there, don't shoot him. But he's been testing products for us. I've sent products off the shelves in my store, and, as much as 38% of the products on the shelf in the state of Michigan come from converted CBD oil, not from plants that are grown by licensed operators from licensed plants. And not only is that fucked up and shady for operators to be doing that, right? You're putting consumers' health at risk by bringing in unlicensed, untested, pesticide-filled products from the hemp market, And then you're putting the market itself at risk, right? You're putting licensed operators who are running compliant businesses who have put millions of dollars and fucking busted their ass and worked for free and lost all their fucking money so that you can make a couple extra dollars. So I say, fuck that. I say, bust those motherfuckers, take their fucking licenses, stop giving out $5,000 fines to retailers for fucking selling 1 gram too many concentrates to people over dumbass shit, and go fuck with the real criminals out there who are bringing tens of thousands of liters in every month and tens of thousands of pounds in from fucking black market states into this licensed state. That shit is wrong, and I want to see more enforcement out of the state. I appreciate the stuff that they are doing, but they got to ramp that shit the fuck up because it's a big problem. It's going to take them years to fix it at this rate.
Give it up for Willy. I don't think I could have said it better. I would love to see more enforcement as well at the state level and the federal level. I mean, he touched on, you know, all the stuff coming into the system that people are sliding through, whether it be from the black market or from converted oil. But then you also have the federal issue. You know, the federal government accidentally legalized weed in 2018 with the way they wrote the Farm Bill. And now you have all these hemp-compliant D9 products and psychoactive hemp products on the market and gas stations and, you know, all across the country. Now states are following suit, like Louisiana pretty much legalized weed overnight the way that they affirmed the Farm Bill. And now we've got the THCA flower, and, you know, people can buy a $10 eighth at the gas station, and it's terrible for them. It's not tested. It's not regulated. And we just need to see more enforcement. And, you know, those $5,000 fines need to turn into people taking licenses away because it's almost impossible to compete, you know, when you have so much shady activity going on and illicit product coming into the market.
Yeah, and for my change, I'm going to echo my friends over here. We see, you know, from the larger market perspective, there are a lot of companies that are doing everything they can to put a good product out there, to be 100% compliant, to do all the back office stuff that I nag them for, and then to get a price that they can actually earn a profit on. And then to see some of the bad actors come in and just crash the market, it's bad for everybody. And we're going to see good businesses go down if we don't see some more regulation from the CRA. They have got to get a handle on that converted oil to help the companies that are doing it right. We want those companies to survive and thrive and continue to produce cool new products for us. But if we can't help them to make a profit, what are they going to do? So I'm 100% more CRA. We have a whole division of compliance for our company. We pay many salaries to make sure we're compliant in every aspect. And a level playing field, like, that's what we would like to see.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Willy here. I'm sure you guys are seeing a common thread. The CRA needs to get some teeth. You can't issue $5,000 fines and have it be part of a regular business plan to know that I'm going to do X illicit activity and this is all I'll pay and I'll make this profit. If somebody is maliciously violating the rules, take the license away. It's a privilege to have a license. We're all sitting up here begging the CRA to enforce more. Use your licensees. If you don't understand as an agency how to crack down or how to find these actors, use the assets you already have. But when you find someone doing something wrong, like bringing in 140,000 grams of conversion oil, the hammer needs to fall, and it needs to fall very hard.
Do you think that they just don't understand the problem and its impact on licensees like you, or do you feel you don't have a voice in making a change? What do you think would help?
I don't think really it's any of that. I mean, I've had good interactions with pretty much all of my CRA agents. I love the people that work there. I just think there's a fear that they'll get retaliated against by lawsuits or other things that makes them feel afraid. Well, if that's the issue, then let's find some way to grant them the ability to do this. Because you're talking to a lot of licensees up here who represent a lot of companies, and we want them shut down. If you're breaking the rules and you're taking a market which should be correcting right now, and you're artificially deflating that with products from out of state, you're only hurting the licensees you should be protecting.
Yeah, I forgot the question.
What do you think would help?
I mean, it's a tough job, right? Like, it's easy to sit up here and bash the CRA. Like, they have a very tough job, and, you know, there's a lot of regulations that they have to deal with. But, you know, I'm a results-based guy. If I don't get my job done, my boss is going to say what's going on. And so You know, we've heard, you know, the changes that CRA has made and the increase of the budget, and we have seen some more interaction and enforcement, but it seems like we need to put the pedal to the metal a little bit more.
They need a lot more people. I mean, they released too many licenses in the first place, and they can't wrap their arms around how big of a monster they've created. You know, retroactively, we can't do anything, but, you know, if we listened and watched the mistakes that Colorado and California and a lot of these other states made, we wouldn't be in this situation. But I mean, they need to hire a lot of people. They need to do more random audits, and when they catch folks, they need to have a much more severe penalty than taking their license away.
Yeah, so I'll just preface this by saying I'm a small government guy. Get the fuck out of my pockets, get the fuck out of my business, get the fuck out of my life. And so for me to say this is a big fucking problem, right? There are 15 enforcement agents for the entire state. They've never come to my farm unexpectedly. They've never come to my processor unexpectedly. They've never shown up at my store unexpectedly. That means they're not doing it for anybody else either, right? Where are the random visits? Where are the, hey, I'm going to show up on this date and see, show me Tuesday, June 10th at 2 p.m., and let me see what's going on here. Basically, they're only busting people when people are snitching, right? And this is an industry where people don't snitch. And those are the kind of results that we're getting. So they have to act like law enforcement officers. They're all fucking cops. Brian Hanna's a fucking cop. All the enforcement agents are fucking cops, and they're not doing cop shit, okay? And so I don't really like cops, but come do some cop shit, because we're all fucking losing our asses out here, right? Protect the market. Protect the people of the state of Michigan. It's happening in California right now. They're busting people for pesticides left and right. The same shit is happening in Michigan. Think about that next time you walk into a dispensary and you look at those dirt cheap, crappy ass vape carts on the shelf. That shit does not come from a licensed farm in the state of Michigan. That comes from some dirty ass hemp farm in Oklahoma, and it's full of pesticides. Don't smoke that shit. Don't support that shit. And let's get more enforcement agents for the CRA.
Thank you very much. So we only have a little time left, and I'd like to leave it on a little happier note. And so I generally ask this question when this comes up. Did you ever think you'd be in a business where you were dealing with cannabis?
So these are uptown problems, right? I mean, when I started doing this, I was hiding in my garage, and then I went up to the hills in Northern California, and when the helicopters flew, everybody fled. And when I was coming down off the hill, my heart was racing, and I was looking in my rearview mirror, and I did dream of one day being able to plant fields in agricultural fields and not have to drag soil up the mountain and not have to steal water out of the fucking creek when my well ran dry in August. So this is a blessing that we're able to do this, right? This is a fucking privilege. It's an industry that's developing. We've got lots of problems. There's a lot of work to do, but I know that if we as operators stand up and say something, it will happen, right? We can't have two people show up to the CRA quarterly meetings. It can't be me and Nick Manvell and fucking Josh Schweider. That can't be it. All the operators from the state have to stand up and say, no more. We fought for this. We're going to make this right, both for the operators and for the people of the state of Michigan who voted for this shit. So I love the cannabis industry. I'm going to be out here fucking with you guys, and I'm going to be louder about this stuff. And it's not negative, right? It's moving the industry in a positive direction. So thank you.
Came from a similar background, not quite as lengthy as old man Willy over here. I'm the young Willy, but I love it. I'm so happy I don't have to look over my shoulder. I'm so happy I can sell weed in my email. I can be on a phone, on a plane, talking about 100 pounds, and the old lady next to me asked if they're pounds of groceries. Couldn't do that 10 years ago, you know, and we are very blessed to be in this industry and be able to, you know, sell cannabis and, you know, make money off of it legally and, you know, take care of our families and not have to look over our shoulder. But the industry still has a long way to go, and I'm confident that it can get there, but it starts with everybody here, and it starts with the license holders that are putting the money in the state's pocket to put our foot down. So let's come together and make this thing a little better for all of us.
It's been a challenging day for me at work. I like to harken back and think, what would my college-age accounting self think if he knew the budgets that we're looking at when we start to get to so many retailers? Like, it is pretty awesome to think man, we sold 4,000 of this company's eights last week. It's just, it gets to be mind-boggling. And so I want to keep this thing positive because I'm super happy to be in this business. I've done a lot of jobs. Job I had before I came back to cannabis, I was a grocery store manager. And man, through COVID, you do not want to be a grocery store manager. So to get to, like these guys say, feed my family with something I'm super passionate about, it's super cool for me. So when I'm having a rough day, I think what my younger self would think when I'm looking at the size of weed budgets that we have now.
Yeah, I think, it's quite an honor and privilege. I grow cannabis, and I can look right out at Muskegon Lake as I do it. And if you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have ran away and thought you were a cop. But really, it is quite an honor. And I don't want you guys to think it's all negative from the operator standpoint. There's just a ton of passion in cannabis. It's been a long time since the world had a new market that is an art. Cannabis is an art. It's not such a commercialized commodity. So to be able to do it in the open and have a state that supports us like this and other licensees who are so passionate, there's nothing better than that.
All right, that'll do it for our presentation. Give it up for our esteemed panel. Yeah, okay, I guess we have time for Q&A. Does anybody have any questions for our panel?
I think that's a great question, and I think it's definitely something that we should do. I think it's unfortunate in the industry that there's a lot of lack of sharing of information. We notice it mostly on the processing side. People don't really want to share ideas, but I think you're right. If we all could come together and be like, hey, we're all doing this compliantly, that is really the way to get the CRA to act when you come together as a group.
I love events like this where we get a chance to talk about what we're all thinking about. And, we all talk to the CRA sometimes, not often, but in my position, but maybe they'll see some of this and understand where we're coming from, and getting together and speaking our voice together as a group has got to help.
I think just sharing more information and having more of a collective, ideal that we're all in this together, and together our voice is a lot louder. If we're sending mass messages from a large group of operators to the CRA in writing quarterly or monthly, and then also showing up at the meetings, it's politics and it's government, and it's going to take a lot, so it's going to require us to be very persistent and all put our heads together and our voices together.
We need to get organized. So Josh is putting together a group of operators to get together to have a voice in the state of Michigan. So if you're an operator and you're interested in cleaning up the industry, snag me, snag Josh, get on the list, and we're going to meet up in the fall, and we're going to sort some shit out and get a message to the CRA. And then on the consumer side, right, consumers need to stop buying dirt cheap vapes, right? A vape that costs $8 isn't good. A vape that costs $7 is even worse. If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Don't support that shit. Buy good weed from good people. Buy good weed from good operators.
Any other questions? All right. I think that'll do it. Thank you very much.